New York, the greatest city in the world. It's The Late Show with David Letterman. Tonight, executive producer of The Tonight Show, starring Johnny Carson, Peter Lucelli, and a musical performance from Doc Severinsen, plus Paul Schaefer and the CBS Orchestra. And now, the youngest Gabor sister, David Letterman.
Thank you. Thank you so much, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to The Late Show. How about this for bad news? Here in New York City, the basic cab fare, say you're from out of town, you want to take a cab someplace, the basic cab fare has gone up from $2 to $2.50. $2 to $2.50. Or as any cab driver in New York City can tell you, that's a 22 rupee increase. Don't... Well, here was a sad story. I hated to hear about this. Paris Hilton, you know Paris Hilton? Paris Hilton has a dog named Tinkerbell, and Tinkerbell was missing for a while. Don't worry, they found Tinkerbell. They found the dog. Tinkerbell was with the Taco Bell Chihuahua making a sex video. So it has a happy ending. How many people are on a low-carb diet? And do you find that it's working? Is it effective, the low-carb diet? It's everything is low-carb now. They have the low-carb beer, they have low-carb pizza, low-carb ice cream, and earlier today, I was reading in the Times something that makes no sense to me. You can now actually buy low-carb condoms. Were you aware of that? Makes no sense. This was interesting and kind of a strange. John Kerry, you know John Kerry, came. You heard he didn't win. Well, he was criticized for throwing away his military service medals back in the 70s. So, not to be outdone, today President Bush threw away his National Guard spotty attendance ribbon. Heaved it. But, you know, President Bush was overseas. He was in Rome. He was visiting the Pope. Did you see those photos? Oh, my God, the poor guy, he looked old. He looked just confused, like he didn't know where he was. And then the Pope told Bush to relax and enjoy himself. And then after that, everything was fine after that. And then on his way back, President Bush stopped in Canada where he received a cool reception. But on the bright side, he was able to go to a Canadian drugstore and fill his prescriptions. So that was something good for him. I saw this in the paper over the weekend. The Red Cross went into Iraq to interview, what's his name, Saddam Hussein, you know? Yeah. And he's apparently out of it. He kept asking, when is Sean Penn coming back? That's a bad sign. But this is kind of exciting. These guys have built this rocket ship, and they're sending people into outer space. It's unbelievable. They went up and they set new records, new altitude records for civilian spacecraft, 50 miles into space. 50, and from that height, you know this probably, there are two man-made things that are visible from 50 miles up. One, of course, is the Great Wall of China, and the other, Donald Trump's hair. That's right. Two things. Ladies and gentlemen, here's Paul Schaefer. does that sound?
That's the thing. That's the song.
Sounds tremendous. And, you know, the more you think about it, there are so many things to miss about Johnny Carson. And when this all happened, I had the strange feeling that I had been through this before, and I'll tell you why. And I think many people felt this way. I was nearly this sad when the guy retired, when you find out that he's actually passed away, because he's, you know, that part of our lives. And Johnny Carson, and you probably all know this, I just want to underline a couple of things here. He was like a public utility. You know, at the end of the day, that's who you wanted to be there, you know. It didn't make any difference what kind of a day he had, if he had a great day or a bad day, or, you know, the Watergate and Vietnam and the Gulf War, and it didn't make any difference who was president, didn't make any difference. So what the economy was, or the unemployment, or what was going on. At the end of the day, the guy you wanted there was Johnny Carson. What a tremendous luxury, if you think about it, to be tucked in at night by Johnny Carson.
Well, that's so true.
And the thing that I used to love most about Johnny Carson, and I guess I have a different perspective, because if you think about it, there's really only a handful of people in the world who kind of do this. And so the thing that I used to love about Johnny, because it's really difficult, and the thing that you really take the most pride in is making people laugh. You know, you come out and there's an audience full of folks and you want to make them laugh. The best part about Johnny is when a joke would not go well. And he would look at the audience and give them that look like he had just bought them drinks and nobody said thank you. And then he would go on, and maybe 2 or 3 more jokes wouldn't work. And then Doc and the band would start playing, was it Tea for Two or something like that?
Yeah.
That's right. That's right. and then Johnny would start dancing. And it was the funniest thing of the night and the funniest thing of the week. And to be able to get people to laugh like that in such an effortless fashion was unbelievably admirable. And then the way that you know that Johnny was such a tremendous part of your life is on the nights when there would be a guest host. And you'd be waiting all day to see Johnny, and you'd tune in, and there was a guest host, and it would make you angry. And you would be steaming mad, but not at Johnny. I like that you would always take out your anger on the guest host.
On the host, yeah.
The poor stooge who was filling in for Johnny.
Yeah. Tell me about it.
But it made such a tremendous difference to have. And you know, we're not talking about 5 years or 10 years or 20 years. This guy did it for 30 years.
30 years.
He was part of our life. You know, several generations, you know, my age, my parents, people older, people younger. And I guess it was Steve Allen. Well, they before that they had the Broadway whoop-de-doo with Jerry Lester or something.
Right.
Buddy Lester, I don't know who it was. And then it was Steve Allen, who was the first Tonight Show host, and then it was Jack Paar. And Steve Allen was a remarkable talent. He was tremendous. And Jack Paar was an incredible talent also. But the Tonight Show didn't really become the Tonight Show until Johnny Carson started to host it. And he created the template for that show. And everybody else who was doing a show, myself included, we're all kind of secretly doing Johnny's Tonight Show. And the reason we're all doing Johnny's Tonight Show is because you think, well, if I do Johnny's Tonight Show, maybe I'll be a little like Johnny and people will like me more. But it sadly doesn't work that way. It's just, if you're not Johnny, you're wasting your time. I mean, really everything, the band, the chairs, the desk, the announcer, it's all because we just want to be a little bit more like Johnny. And I moved to Los Angeles from Indianapolis in 1975, and the reason I moved is because of Johnny Carson and The Tonight Show. And I'm not the only one. I would guess that maybe 3 generations of comedians moved to be where Johnny was, because if you thought you were funny and you wanted to find out if you could hit major league pitching, you had to be on The Tonight Show. And that's exactly what I did. And all of my peers moved out there for the same reason. And I was lucky enough to be on The Tonight Show in 1978. And from that, I got a show that Paul and I used to do over at NBC. And from that, we got this show. And truthfully, no stretch of the imagination I owe everything in my professional career, whatever success we've attained, to Johnny Carson, because he was nice enough to give me the opportunity, and throughout my career was always very supportive. As a matter of fact, every one of those jokes I did a few minutes ago were written for us over the last couple of months by Johnny Carson, and tremendous act of friendship. And there's a friend of mine who's been on the show before, and Paul knows him quite well. His name is Tom Dreesen, and Tom and I started out as comedians about the same time in Los Angeles. And Tom's fond of telling a story, and when Tom's fond of telling a story, he'll tell it 1,000 times. But he's fond of telling this story, traveling around, and people say, "Oh, hi, what do you do?" And he says, "Well, I'm a comedian." And invariably, people would say to him, "Oh, you're a comedian. Have you been on Johnny Carson?" And of course, what this meant was, as far as the world is concerned, if you had not been on Johnny Carson, you just weren't funny. And by God, that was the truth.
Absolutely.
That doesn't exist anymore either. The first time I was on the Tonight Show as a guest was November 24th, 1978. And I was on, I don't know, a couple dozen times after that. And of all of the appearances that I made with Johnny, there is one thing that people today still ask me about. And they think it was unbelievably funny, and they can't get over it. And they always, did that actually happen? And what was the deal on that? And the interesting thing about this, it had nothing to do with me. It was all Johnny. And this was at a time when we all thought we were kind of, setting new territory for comedy and being cutting edge. And,
right.
And the truth of it is, Johnny was still the best and could still do it and always did it effortlessly. So this is something that happened to me on The Tonight Show, and the date of this was April 18th, 1986. And this was right in the middle when we were doing the show over at NBC. So I go out to California, and Johnny's nice enough to put me on his show, and this is what happened.
I went by your house this morning on the way to work.
No.
And I want to show you. I took this picture myself. Right. Would you roll the tape that we made this afternoon since you have come? This is a view of the truck. We took this. I want you to see this fine automobile close up. Take a look at the appointments inside the cab.
It was locked.
Now look at this. Look at the seat. This is David's truck.
Yeah.
Look at this fine automobile. Parked out in front of expensive homes in Malibu.
Oh, good. Steal it, sure. What, did you get some of Gaddafi's boys to go out there? What the hell is this? They're stealing a truck. No.
And there you go. David, this is your truck. Look at this fine.
Now look at. Wait a minute. He scratched the damn truck.
Look at this fine automobile.
This wasn't here before.
How about that for an idea?
Oh, your truck.
The thing I love about that in watching that, I'm just sitting there. I bring nothing to the table. It's all Johnny. He's in complete control, and I couldn't look like a bigger boob. I'm very happy about this program tonight. I'm sorry that the circumstances are so sad that cause us to have this show tonight, but we're going to do it, and I think it will be enjoyable. Two good friends of Johnny Carson are on the program. Our first guest tonight is Peter LaSalle. He was the producer of The Tonight Show along with Fred DeCordova for 20 years. And our other guest, Doc Severinsen, 25 years, the leader of the Tonight Show band. That's the show, ladies and gentlemen. We'll be right back with Peter LaSalle. Welcome back to the program, ladies and gentlemen. Peter LaSalle, the producer of The Tonight Show and a good friend of Johnny Carson's, and also over the years a good friend of mine, is on the show this evening, and we'll be chatting about Johnny and his life and his career and their friendship. Also, Doc Severinsen. And I understand from rehearsal that this was tremendous. Doc is here.
Doc is not here.
Doc is here?
Doc is here.
Doc is here.
No, Doc is not here.
Doc is not here.
Doc is not here.
Doc Severinsen and our band, and also Tommy Newsom and Ed Shaughnessy from the old Tonight Show Orchestra.
Revered members for many years of the Tonight Show
That's
Orchestra.
right.
Yeah.
Will be performing Here's That Rainy Day. And I'm told through Peter and also through Doc that this was one of Johnny's all-time favorite pieces of music.
Favorite ballad, apparently.
Yeah. So that'll be a lovely thing for us. And before we bring out Peter, you know, after Johnny retired, which was in '92, he was nice enough to appear on this program in little cameos and little skits and stuff that we would do from time to time. And it was always a great kick. And we put together a few of those moments. Take a look. Please say hello to Johnny Carson.
You will find out, David, after a few years, this is the only way I can talk with anybody. I was out to dinner last night at a restaurant. I take this with me.
Yeah.
I go home after the show. I use this in our bedroom. I do not perform well without this desk.
You know, I noticed something right off the bat. I think your desk is bigger than mine.
Well, another 20 years, you will have this desk.
How are things going there in California?
Pretty good. The mudslides are putting out the fire.
Well,
Look, he still got it.
Dave,
how you doing?
what a surprise.
Yeah. Listen.
Dave, very often after I finish my show, I come to my office and have a camera standing by just in case somebody might call. David, I'm going to fax you this joke, and no matter what happens back there, it left here funny.
Johnny, can I have the top 10 list?
Thank you, Johnny.
Good night.
Nice to see you.
Is there anybody that good?
No, sir.
There's nobody that good, and maybe one day there will be somebody that good, but right now, all of us doing these shows combined collectively are not that good.
Wow.
And you get the feeling that in the case of Johnny's show, people actually watched it. In the case of our show, you get the feeling people are just kind of putting up with it. You know?
I don't know.
I mean, when you see the two of us together, would you rather watch my show or his show? No, I'd rather watch his show, for God's sakes. For more than 20 years, our first guest was producer for The Tonight Show starring Johnny Carson. Please welcome Peter LaSalle, ladies and gentlemen. Good to see you.
Thank you.
You know, when this happened, and you're the person who told me all about it, I thought about it for a couple of days about what we would do on the show, and the more I thought about it, it came to me that I would love to have you on the show, and I want to tell people right now that I had to beg you, I had to plead with you to come on the show, and you said, please, I'll be a horrible guest, I'll be nervous, it will be awful, and I said, no, it won't. It will be wonderful and would make me feel so great if you would do it. And out of your kindness for me, you said you would be here, and that means a great deal to me. Thank you very much. When you see those videotapes, and when you see the videotapes of Johnny for the last 9 or 10 days or whatever it's been, what memories come to mind? When I see those tapes, I think to myself, in some cases he had been retired up to 2 years. He looked tremendous, and he was still as funny as ever. And you wonder, why did he retire? Why did he retire?
He always felt that, when we talked about this for many years, he always felt he shouldn't stay too long at the fair.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, there were two big stars, Bob Hope and Jack Benny, who he felt just stayed too long.
Mm-hmm.
And they weren't the Bob Hope of the olden days.
Right.
And he said, please tell me if I stay too long that it's time to go. And once I do retire, remind me not to go back. And I didn't have to do that.
No, see, that was, I think, surprising to most people, because once you got not comfortable, but once you accepted the idea that he was retiring, we all assumed that he would come back from time to time in various forms. And I know people tried to get him to come back, and he just
Absolutely.
did not. Now, did that surprise you, that the cutoff was so complete, total?
No, it just made me realize what a classy guy he was.
Mm-hmm.
That was the smartest thing he could have done.
Right.
Because the temptation is to go back.
Yeah.
I mean, when you do a show like yours and you get possibly a standing ovation every day, all of a sudden it ends, you would want to go back
Right.
and recreate that. But he never did. He knew he wanted to be remembered as he was at the top of his game.
Now you mentioned something that I found hard to believe, that you really didn't become good friends with Johnny until after the retirement. Is that true?
That's true.
And what was that friendship like, and how was he different after the retirement?
He was much more relaxed. He was much more open. He was much warmer. I mean, he was always a shy man who was not comfortable with people, really. And when I used to see him in the last 10 years, he was just outgoing and relaxed and had a wonderful time.
Right.
And it's, I guess, some load dropped off his shoulders.
Did he ever talk about missing the show at all?
Well, the one thing he missed about the show was doing the monologue. He loved the monologue. And he would pick up the papers in the morning and write jokes from the paper for his own amusement. And then he would call me. It's true. He would call me and read them to me over the phone. And I thought they were hysterical, and I'd laugh like crazy. They were real good Johnny Carson jokes. But he had no outlet for them. So after a couple of times, I said, you know, who would love these jokes? Dave, you should send them to him. And he said, no, I don't want to do that. That would put pressure on Dave, because he'd feel he'd have to do them to be nice. Then finally I convinced him that it was okay to do them, and he sent some jokes to you, and you used them on the air, and he was delighted, because he was delighted that you did them, and he was delighted that the audience laughed at them, and gave him a great pleasure.
Yeah, well, it was a tremendous thrill and a boost for us, because we're just sitting here day in and day out and day in and day out. You get a call from Johnny Carson, and he's got jokes for you. I mean, it's like it's like Christmas morning, for God's sakes. Now let's talk a little bit about when you first met Johnny and when you went to work for Johnny. Did he ever get upset about the show? Was there ever any anger, either on the show about something that went wrong, or after the show? Were there meetings, or did he ever scream? Or
he would really get, no, he was not a screamer, but he would get angry when there were technical problems.
Technical problems. Oh, technical problems. Technical problems.
All of a sudden the sound went out or a light went out. And afterwards downstairs in the postmortem, he would say, now what in God's name happened? How is it possible that this mic was dead when it should have been open? And our director, Bobby Quinn, would always give him the same answer, and he didn't seem to notice it. It was the same answer every time. Somebody must have kicked out the plug.
That was fine.
And that was enough.
You're doing fine. Just relax. We'll be right back with Peter LaSalle, everybody. Peter LaSalle, producer of The Tonight Show. It was always my impression, even before I got to know how things were working out there, that Johnny Carson was bigger than NBC, bigger than television. And you must have had a sense of that working there. I mean, you felt that way, I'm sure.
Well, the nice thing about working under those conditions is the network wouldn't bother me.
Right.
It's a luxury that isn't always there.
Yeah.
So, yes, I'd just say, well, that's the way Johnny wants it, and that would be the end of the discussion.
I've been trying to think if there is as big a star on television today as Johnny, and I don't think so. I tell you who comes close to mind, and people will probably laugh about this, but somebody who is nearly as good as Johnny is Regis Philbin. And I think Regis does a tremendous job, but the difference that you just pointed out is you can push Regis around.
It's true.
Yeah. But you could never push Johnny around, could you?
That's right.
And it's fun to push Regis around.
Yes. Will you please have dinner with him?
I'll try. Did Johnny ever tip his hand on the air? Did he ever get angry with a guest or short-tempered with a guest or anything malfunction with a guest?
Well, I was always waiting for the moment where Johnny might lose it and actually say to somebody what he was thinking, which I'm sure you've been tempted to do. There was a time when one of the Charlie's Angels ladies was on the show. Not one of the original four, one of the ones that came later.
There were many? I didn't realize.
Oh, yes, there were replacements. So it was one of the later ones. And I didn't want to be mean, but she was dumb.
Dumb. I don't think that's mean.
And she was babbling on, and I could see Johnny's eyes glaze over. And I thought, oh, please, don't let him lose it now. And after she went on and on, he leaned over to her and he said, have you ever read any books? That's when I knew he had lost it.
Yeah. Now, the one thing that Johnny always joked about, seemingly from very early on, was divorce. He was married and divorced. He was married 4 times, divorced 3 times. Right. Is that right? And when something traumatic like that happens in your personal life, did it make a difference in how he was at work? Did it make a difference in how he was on the show?
Yes, Johnny would sometimes be moody, and you knew he was angry about something.
Right.
But we never were sure whether it was a problem at home or a problem in the office. We told ourselves it was a problem at home that had nothing to do with us. But he'd get a little snarky.
But as you told me upstairs, he sort of got better at it as he went through the more divorces. It got easier.
Yes, no, the divorces got easier, but they got more expensive.
That's right. Now, I talked about, and of course, everybody loves this. He's telling his jokes. They don't work. maybe one or two more doesn't work, and then he starts to dance.
Right.
And a lot of my buddies would speculate over the years that he sometimes would deliberately drop in jokes that he knew would not work, so he could work that routine. Is there any truth to that?
No.
Yeah.
No. You know there are many bad jokes to be delivered.
Oh, yes, I certainly do.
And you just do the best you can with him, and he was really good at it.
Yeah, yeah. He did a lot of characters on the show. Art Fern.
Yes.
And
he loved Art.
Floyd Arturbo.
Right.
Aunt Blabby.
Right.
Karnak.
Right.
Who am I leaving out here?
Audience?
Which, did he have a favorite one of those?
Well, he loved Art Fern,
Yeah.
I think. He loved Art Fern, and he loved the Tea Time Lady.
Oh, there we go, right there. But I'm right about this, aren't I, Peter, that it didn't make any difference what the character was. It was, you knew it was Johnny.
Yes.
And Johnny would always let you know, no, I'm still in here. I know I'm not fooling anybody with this.
Right.
We're in here, and you just got a big kick out of Johnny.
Absolutely.
The other thing I like is his lunch. He would often bring his lunch to work.
Yes, he did. And
That's amazing. What would he have?
it was in a little brown bag.
Right.
And he never ate in front of us. I don't know.
Perhaps didn't want to share?
No, I think if you're a big celebrity, you don't want anybody to watch you eating.
Maybe so.
Have you ever eaten in front
People
of
have
other
seen me eat, yes. I don't care for it. Would, after a show, would he go out to dinner with guests?
No. No, absolutely not. Which is familiar to you, isn't it?
It is a little bit. We'll be right back here with Peter LaSalle. Yes, sir, Ray, Peter LaSalle. Let's tell me about the day. What time would Johnny come to work?
He'd come to work about 1 o'clock, and we'd go meet him downstairs, and we'd just talk about our lives.
Right.
And what's going on in the world.
Was there a rehearsal necessarily?
Yes, there would be a sketch rehearsal and music rehearsal. And then we would do the show, and afterwards we'd go downstairs, and I would be the negative one who would say, boy, that guest didn't work,
Yeah.
or when you did that joke, that sure died.
You would say, you would tell Johnny, you would remind him.
Well, he would say, it's okay, it'll play better on the air.
Oh.
That was always the
Right.
final solution.
And it tended to be that way, didn't it?
It tended to be that
Yeah.
way. At the time, you think it's terrible,
Right.
and then when you watch it on television, it's
And
okay.
what was his attitude if you did have a show that was just a complete train wreck? What was his attitude, and did it affect him the following day?
No, absolutely not. He would say, hey, there's always tomorrow. Let's not even beat ourselves up.
Right.
Tomorrow's show will be great.
That's just tremendous. That's just tremendous.
It was a good attitude.
Yeah. And Peter, you must. I mean, this represented a great portion of your adult life, your pursuit. I mean, the pinnacle of your career was working with Johnny Carson, for God's sakes, and knowing him as a friend. I mean, the loss must have been crushing for you, huh?
It was terrible, yes. You know, the last week or two, he was really having trouble breathing.
Yeah. So it was a surprise, but not a shock to you then?
No, it was not a shock.
Yeah. I remember one time we were out in California, and we were out there for some function, and the entire staff was having dinner at a restaurant out there. Do you remember that?
Yes.
And we run into Johnny Carson.
Right. It was the first year that we were nominated for an Emmy for your show. And we would go out there, and it became an annual event. And you flew out the entire cast and crew to be there at the Emmys. And we took over the patio of a Malibu restaurant because we were about 70 or 80 people.
Right.
And there were about 10 or 12 tables. And it was just a big, big crowd. And somebody told me that Johnny happened to be in the same restaurant that night. So I went over to him and I said, God, it would be so nice if you could just say hello to Dave and meet some of the people. It would mean a lot to them if you could just say hello. And at the end of his dinner, he came over and said hello. And I had mentioned that it was the staff. And so he came over, and then he was very gracious, sat down at the table with us, and then he left. And at the end of the evening, we went to pay the tab, and the maitre d' said, Mr. Carson has already taken care of it.
Right.
And we thought, oh my God, how generous. I mean, it's unbelievable. So the next morning I called him, and I said, that was so nice of you. I mean, how generous you are. It's incredible. And he started to laugh and said, you know, he laughed his old Johnny Carson way, and he said, you know, I didn't know that all those people on that patio were with you. I thought it was just the people at the table.
The bill was about 10 grand or something.
10 grand.
Well, I can't thank you enough, Peter, because I really realize I'm treading on our friendship, but thank you very much for being here. And I'm right about one thing. We'll not see the likes of this man again, will we?
No, we won't.
Yeah.
No,
absolutely.
there's only one Johnny Carson.
Good to see you. Take
Thank
care
you.
of yourself. Peter LaSalle. We'll be right back with Doc Severinsen, everybody. It's going to be very nice. Our next guest was the musical director of The Tonight Show, starring Johnny Carson for 25 years, and now performing with Tommy Newsom and Ed Shaughnessy. Please welcome Doc Severinsen.